The Earth is a planet of distinct boundaries. We have the ocean vast and deep. We have the forest green and teeming. And we have the desert dry and lifeless. Usually these worlds are kept apart by biology and climate. But in the northeast of Brazil, just south of the equator, the rules of geography have been broken. Here, on the edge of the Atlantic, the boundaries dissolve. From the vantage point of a bird or a satellite orbiting in the silence of space, it appears as a bright white scar on the edge of the continent. It looks like a glacial sheet, a patch of snow inexplicably frozen in the tropics. But as you descend, the texture reveals itself. It is not ice, it is sand. This is the Lençóis Maranhenses National Park, covering 1,550 square kilometers, an area larger than the city of Sao Paulo. It is a sprawling, shifting kingdom of silica. In Portuguese, its name is poetry. Lençóis means bed sheets. And looking at the landscape where the wind has folded the dunes into endless, rippling creases, it looks exactly like linen hung out to dry by the giants of old folklore. But this is not a desert. To call it a desert is to misunderstand its very soul. A true desert is defined by a lack of water. Here, water is the architect. Here, the rains do not just fall, they transform. Between January and June, violent storms roll in from the Amazon basin. They pound the white sands with thunderous force. And because of a geological miracle hidden beneath the surface, the water does not escape. It gathers. The result is a landscape that feels like a hallucination. Thousands upon thousands of turquoise, emerald, and dark blue lagoons appear in the valleys between the dunes. It is a mosaic of the impossible, blistering white sand and cool fresh water existing in a perfect temporary union. It is a place that challenges our understanding of permanence, a world that is built, destroyed, and rebuilt every single year. To understand the Lençóis, we must look back in time, far beyond the arrival of man to the elemental forces that carved this coast. This spectacle is the result of a battle between the land, the river, and the sea that has raged for millennia. The sand here is not born locally. It is a traveler. It begins its journey far inland, carried by the Parnaíba River and several smaller tributaries. These rivers slice through the continent, eroding quartz deposits and grinding rocks into fine particulate matter. For centuries, the rivers have dumped this sediment into the Atlantic Ocean. In a normal geological setting, this sediment would simply drift out to sea or form a standard beach. But the coast of Maranhão is subject to powerful, relentless trade winds and uniquely strong ocean currents. The currents push the sand back toward the shore, depositing it on the beaches. Then, the wind takes over. During the dry season, the winds here are fierce, blowing consistently at speeds that can strip paint from a car. These winds pick up the dried sand grains, which are almost 100% pure quartz, and drive them inland. Grain by grain, ton by ton, the dunes migrate. They can move up to 20 meters a year, a slow-motion tsunami of sand swallowing everything in its path. The whiteness of the sand is chemical purity. Over eons, the wind and water have polished the grains, stripping away impurities like iron and feldspar that give other deserts their reddish or yellow hues. What remains is pure silica. It reflects the sun so intensely that despite the equatorial heat, the sand rarely burns the feet. It acts as a mirror, bouncing the heat back into the atmosphere. But the true secret lies underground. If this were merely a pile of sand, the rain would filter down into the water table and disappear. However, beneath the dunes lies a layer of impermeable rock, a geological seal. When the torrential rains of the wet season arrive, dropping up to 70 inches of water, the earth refuses to swallow it. The water rises, filling the interdunal valleys, creating the lagoons. The water table pierces the surface, and the desert drowns. Entering the park during the height of the wet season, around July or August, is a sensory overload. The contrast is sharp enough to trick the eye. The sky is a piercing blue, the sand is a blinding white, and the water is a spectrum of jewel tones. The lagoons vary in color depending on their depth and the microscopic algae living within them. Some, like the famous Lagoa Azul, Blue Lagoon, are the color of a swimming pool. Others, like Lagoa Bonita, Beautiful Lagoon, mirror the clouds so perfectly that it becomes difficult to tell where the water ends and the sky begins. The water is warm, heated by the tropical sun to a comfortable 26 to 28 degrees Celsius. It is fresh, sweet rainwater, filtered by the sand. To swim here is to float in the purest water imaginable, surrounded by a wall of silence. But these are not sterile pools. Life, against all odds, has found a way to colonize this transient paradise. As you wade into the water, you might feel a nibble at your toes. Small fish dart through the shallows. In the deeper pools, the wolffish, or Triera, reigns supreme. The existence of these fish is one of the great mysteries of the Lençóis. How do fish exist in lagoons that dry up completely for half the year? The wolffish is a master of suspended animation. As the dry season approaches and the lagoons begin to shrink, the water evaporates. The fish does not panic. Instead, it burrows deep into the mud at the bottom of the waning pool. It finds a layer of damp earth, slows its metabolism, and enters a state of dormancy. It sleeps in the mud, encased in a mucus cocoon, waiting. For months, the sun bakes the ground above it. The wind howls. The lagoon disappears, replaced by dry sand. To an observer, the fish is gone. But when the rains return months later, water penetrates the mud, and the wolffish wakes up. It emerges hungry and ready to breed, restarting the cycle of life in a matter of days. It is a biological resurrection that happens millions of times a season. While the dunes seem inhospitable to humans, people do live here. Deep inside the dune field, completely cut off from the outside world by miles of shifting sand, lies two green islands, the oasis of Queimada dos Britos and Baixa Grande. From the air, Queimada dos Britos looks like a mistake. It is a dense patch of green vegetation, cashew trees, buriti palms, and shrubs surrounded by a sea of white. Here, a small community of families has lived for generations. They are the guardians of the sands. Their lives are dictated by the rhythm of the dunes. There are no roads here. No power lines connect them to the grid. Electricity comes from solar panels or generators, and water comes from wells dug by hand. To visit a neighbor or go to the nearest town requires a grueling trek across the hot sand or a journey by 4x4 vehicle that navigates the dunes like a ship on rough seas. The people here are resilient. They live off the land and the sea. They raise goats and chickens, and they fish in the lagoons during the wet season. When the lagoons dry up, they migrate to the coast to fish in the ocean. They are semi-nomadic, their movements synchronized with the water levels. Their houses are simple, often thatched with palm leaves, designed to breathe in the heat. The sand is a constant guest. It blows into their kitchens, their beds, their food. They do not fight the sand. They learn to live with it. Living here requires a profound acceptance of isolation. The silence of the desert is their constant companion. At night, without the light pollution of cities, the Milky Way casts a shadow on the ground. The stars are so bright they reflect in the dark waters of the oasis streams, but their lifestyle is threatened. The dunes are moving. As the wind pushes the sand, it slowly encroaches on the vegetation of the oasis. Residents often have to move their fences, or even their homes, to avoid being buried. They are living on a geological conveyor belt, watching their backyard shift year by year. To the east of the dune field lies the lifeblood of the region, the Rio Preguiças, or the River of Laziness. The name comes from the abundance of sloths that once inhabited its banks, but it also describes the slow, languid flow of the dark water as it winds toward the Atlantic. The river creates a striking boundary. On one side, the white sands of the Lençóis tower like a fortress. On the other, the thick green tangle of the mangrove forest stands guard. It is a clash of ecosystems. The mangroves are the nursery of the coast. Their twisted roots submerged in brackish water provide shelter for crabs, oysters, and juvenile fish. The red mangroves stand on their stilt roots, looking like spiders walking on water. The black mangroves breathe through pneumatophores, small snorkel-like roots that poke out of the oxygen-deprived mud. Traveling down the Preguiças is a journey through time. You pass small fishing villages like Mandacaru, dominated by a white lighthouse that offers a panoramic view of the area. From the top of the lighthouse, the contrast is stark. The endless green of the Amazonian transition zone abruptly stopping where the endless white of the dunes begins. It looks like a line drawn on a map. The river eventually widens and spills into the ocean at Athens, a small, dusty village that has become the gateway for adventurers. Athens is a place of sand streets and barefoot living. Here, the river meets the sea, and the fresh water mixes with the salt. It is a turbulent, energetic, chaotic zone where kite surfers harness the trade winds, gliding over the waves in a dance of adrenaline and spray. While the fish dominate the water and the goats roam the oasis, the sky belongs to the birds. The Lençóis Maranhenses is a crucial stopover for migratory species and a permanent home for specialized hunters. The most iconic resident is the scarlet ibis, guara. These birds are a shock of color against the landscape. Their feathers are a vibrant, impossible crimson, a result of their diet rich in carotenoids from crabs and shrimp. When a flock of scarlet ibis takes flight against the white dunes and the blue sky, it looks like a firework explosion frozen in time. They roost in the mangroves at dusk, turning the green trees red with their numbers. Terns, plovers, and sandpipers patrol the edges of the lagoons. They are the opportunists. As the water levels drop in the dry season and the fish become trapped in smaller and smaller pools, the birds feast. It is a feeding frenzy. The neotropic cormorant dives deep, swimming underwater to catch the slower fish, while the herons stand still as statues in the shallows, waiting for a movement to strike. The nests of the burrowing owl can be found in the more stable, vegetated dunes known as restinga. These small owls stand guard outside their burrows, their yellow eyes watching for lizards and insects. They are the sentinels of the sand, rotating their heads to track intruders, thriving in the heat that drives other animals into the shade. As October approaches, the rains have long since stopped. The sun, now directly overhead, becomes a ruthless tyrant. The evaporation rate skyrockets. This is the time of the great vanishing. The lagoons begin to recede. The smaller pools disappear first, leaving behind only damp patches of sand that quickly bleach white. The large lagoons shrink, breaking into fragmented puddles. The vivid blues turn to muddy browns. The water warms up, losing its refreshing quality. This is when the wind reclaims its territory. Without the weight of the water to hold the sand grains together, the dunes become mobile again. The trade winds, known as the ventos girae, pick up speed. They reach up to 70 kilometers per hour. If you stand on a dune crest during this season, you are assaulted by a sandblasting. The sand streams off the peaks like smoke. This is the mechanism of migration. The wind pushes the sand up the gentle windward slope of the dune. When the grains reach the crest, they cascade down the steep leeward side. In this way, the dune rolls over itself, marching forward. This movement is relentless. It buries vegetation. It changes the topography so much that a map made in January is useless by December. The valleys where you swam in July might be under 10 feet of sand by November. The landscape effectively erases its own memory. For the guides who work in the park, this shifting terrain requires an expert eye. They do not navigate by landmarks, for the landmarks move. They navigate by the sun, the wind direction, and an intuitive understanding of the dune shapes. Lençóis Maranhenses seems timeless, an eternal cycle of wet and dry. But like all great ecosystems, it is fragile. It exists in a delicate balance. Climate change casts a long shadow over the white sands. The park relies entirely on the regularity of the rainy season. If the rains from the Amazon fail, or if they shift their patterns due to global warming, the lagoons will not fill. A year without rain would be catastrophic for the fish populations and the migratory birds that rely on this stopover. Conversely, rising sea levels threaten the coastline. The sea is the source of the sand, but it is also a destroyer. If the ocean rises, it could breach the freshwater table, salinating the lagoons and killing the vegetation of the oasis. The delicate interface between fresh and salt water would be shattered. Tourism too brings pressure. The park is a magnet for the world. Thousands of visitors come to see the miracle. Vehicles, even authorized ones, compress the sand and can disturb nesting birds. The plastic waste of civilization threatens to mar the pristine white. Strict regulations are in place. No private vehicles on the dunes, strictly controlled access zones, and a ban on permanent structures. But the pressure grows every year. The challenge for Brazil is to preserve this wonder not just as a tourist attraction, but as a functioning ecosystem. It is a sanctuary for the wolffish, the scarlet ibis, and the families of the oasis. As the sun begins to set, the park undergoes its final daily transformation. The light softens, the harsh, blinding white turns to gold, then to violet, and finally to a bruised purple. The shadows stretch out, exaggerating the curves of the dunes, turning the landscape into a vast, abstract painting. This is the golden hour, the photographer's dream. The temperature drops rapidly. The sand releases the heat it stored all day. When true night falls, the darkness is absolute. There are no streetlights, no glow from distant cities. You are alone with the universe. The sky is so clear that you can see the Magellanic Clouds, the satellite galaxies of our Milky Way. Shooting stars are common, scratching lines of fire across the black dome. The sounds change. The wind often dies down at night. The roar of the breeze is replaced by the chorus of frogs in the lagoons and the chirping of crickets in the Restinga. It is a primal soundscape. To camp here, with permission, is a humbling experience. You lie on the sand, a tiny speck in an infinite field of white, under an infinite field of stars. It brings a sense of scale that is hard to find in the modern world. You realize that you are just a temporary visitor in a landscape that belongs to the elements. Lençóis Maranhenses is more than just a beautiful place. It is a paradox made real. It is a desert that drowns. It is a landscape of death that teems with life. It is a place of stillness that is constantly moving. It reminds us that nature is not a static backdrop to our lives, but a dynamic, powerful force. It shows us the creativity of the earth, how wind, water, and time can conspire to create something of breathtaking beauty. Every year, the lagoons will vanish. The fish will sleep in the mud. The sand will march forward. And every year, the rains will return to resurrect the miracle. As long as the winds blow and the clouds gather, the sheets of Maranhão will continue their eternal dance, waving on the edge of the world, waiting for those brave enough to journey into the white unknown. This is the Lençóis Maranhenses, a dream carved in sand, a memory written in water.